My name's JD Russo. I'm 16 years old, and I'm a high school student at Carmel High School. I have the same interests in school, music, books, games that most of my peers, and I'm definitely not a professional activist. I don't consider myself one by any means. A few years ago, I started noticing all the plastic around me in the world. In my community, in my school, just walking around on the streets, you could see everywhere, plastic bottles, lids, straws, and things like that. And I kind of remember when I was a kid, we went on this glass-bottom boat tour in Hawaii, and all you could see through the bottom of the boat was, there was the ocean floor, and then it was covered in plastic debris. Cups and lids and straws and little styrofoam restaurant takeout boxes, things like that. So as I started noticing things like that, I started noticing how people used plastics. And I started noticing how often people used disposable plastics that they'd hang on to, 5–10 seconds leaving the grocery store before they threw it away outside. Plastics in their drinks, things that had a very short lifespan, that had no reusability. It seemed like from plastic wrapped bananas, plastic wrapped pickles, just things that didn't make any sense. There were always new and creative ways to put plastic into our daily lives. It's a really obvious problem, and it's really in your face. So I started trying to find out more about it. Started trying to find out if people know so much about this problem, if people know that they're using plastics, people know the impacts that their plastic use has on the environment, why aren't they stopping? Why do they keep using them? Most importantly, I felt that I could figure out a way that I could contribute a solution to the problem. And so I started my work with Plastic Pollution Coalition and my speaking, and all with a focus on kind of raising this care in people of why they should personally take action against plastic pollution. Well, one of the things I did was I wrote an article to the Herald about plastic pollution in our community, and I wrote a little bit of what I thought about it and the problems that I saw. There was a pretty positive response on that overall. I got messages from my family and my friends all telling me that there was a pretty strong agreement with me on what I had to say, and everybody thought that it was pretty interesting that a youth, somebody my age, could have an opinion on something like plastic pollution. Well, I think it's funny because people my age, on the whole, tend to be pretty educated about things like plastic pollution. Through the internet, through events at our school, through just general outreach from different groups, they tend to have, figured out quite a bit about the problem. I think the thing that's really lacking is the connection between themselves and the problem. People don't see, really any direct correlation between the actions they take and the consequences that they have. So they'll learn about plastic pollution, they'll see the picture of the dying albatross, and then they'll throw away their plastic cup right after. I absolutely think that people my age could be a little more receptive to change about how they're, reacting to plastic pollution versus the older population that we see. I think people my age, we're not so set in our ways. We're still kind of learning how to do things. We don't really have any set way that we like to go about doing things. So if it turns out that plastic isn't the best way for us to do things, then we'll find a new and better way. So I think that art is one of the most effective ways to engage people and one of the most effective ways to reach them emotionally. And I think that that's really what it takes to build that connection, to overcome the apathy that so many people are drowning in. Art is kind of the most basic form of human expression. It's something we've been doing pretty much as long as we've existed as a species. And I think that especially things like the pictures of the albatross chicks dying on the Midway Islands, the different movies and films about plastic pollution, the different art from people like Deanna Cohen and Lila Rue, those are some of the most effective ways that I've seen plastic pollution addressed. And I've seen those move people to action in ways that no speech could have on them. I think the best way to propagate more art from people my age through art is to just expose it to them. When people my age see art, one of the things that they'll want to do is, if they're an artist, they're going to want to go out and make something their own and show their take on it to the world. And I think the best thing that can be done for that is to take that art and showcase it and show the world, look, this is what youth can do. I think the role of the Museum of Monterey in all of this is that it can provide a really important kind of nexus for all of this to come together. The Museum of Monterey can provide a place where youth can showcase their art. It can provide a place where youth can come and talk about these issues and learn about these issues. And I think that maybe most importantly, it can provide a place where youth can connect not only with their peers, but their peers from across the world and their peers from other places where plastic pollution is an issue, like Central America and different parts of Europe, places where we have contacts that would like to talk to our contacts here but don't have an effective method of doing that. So in summer of this year, I traveled with a few key members of the Plastic Pollution Coalition down to Central America, where we visited Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Guatemala. And we talked about plastic pollution with them and how it pertains to them in their countries. And we also talked to a lot of youth groups there and saw what they were doing and talked to them about potentially connecting with youth groups here in the United States about it. I think the Museum of Monterey has a really important potential role here in using technologies like video conferencing to connect the two and give them an opportunity to have this open forum that we really can't have otherwise due to the distance separating us. I think the most interesting thing that I saw down there was the amount of initiative youth were taking against the problems. People in the United States, like I've talked about, there's this big problem of apathy, and they've seemed pretty successful in Central America in overcoming that in a lot of ways. Whether it's just a fact of how much bigger the problem is there or how much more it affects their personal lives. Because for us, when we throw things away, a lot of the time Central America does become that away, and a lot of our garbage ends up there. You go there and you see garbage filling the streets and in people's homes, and I think that that kind of personal connection really provides an incentive for them to move to action. I think the Museum of Monterey has a really important role in how it can help affect the problem of plastic pollution, how it can especially help bring youth together for more innovation on how they can help solve the problem and how they can work together. I think the biggest possible impact the Museum of Monterey can have on youth on the Monterey Peninsula is giving them something to do while we're here on the peninsula. So much focus among kids here is on what we're going to do when we leave and how quickly can we get out and how soon can we go to college and get on with the rest of our lives. And there's nothing here that really appeals to youth and keeps us here and gives us something to do and focus on and pour all of our energy and ambition into while we're here. Honestly, the biggest thing on the Monterey Peninsula that really tries to engage youth on a large scale is the county fair. And I'm pretty sure that we can find a better way of engaging each other and finding a way to do something productive with our energy than that. I think that the best way the Museum of Monterey can help, develop a premium on intellect on the peninsula is to provide a place where people can come together and discuss ideas, and people can come together and network and meet other people that share their ideas, and other people that want to learn about them, and other people that can teach them too. A place for youth to learn and develop their ideas and connect with other youth. I feel like there's definitely a market for that among the youth of the Monterey Peninsula because there's really nothing like that for us right now. Right now there's really no place for us to come together and talk to other motivated people and discuss the changes that we could have on the peninsula. Well, I think that the biggest problem with the interaction between youth and adults on the peninsula right now is adults tend to not take us seriously. I mean, a lot of people think that we just, want to play video games and play sports and hang out after school. And while I'm not arguing that, I think that we definitely also have a lot of other potential. We have a lot of potential to come up with new ideas in ways that people haven't thought of before. We have a lot of potential to create ideas, create new solutions to things in ways that a lot of adults can't even really comprehend, just radical changes in thinking. Youth definitely do things very differently from adults, maybe most notably our use of social networking. It provides us a platform to communicate with people across the world, instantly, with no delay. We can share our ideas with people across the world when we want to, as soon as we want to, and in a way that we can find other people that are also interested in the same things in a matter of seconds. That's something that could very strongly be used to further the role even of the Museum of Monterey in providing something like this for us. And it's something that adults tend to not use as much as we do. It's something that we start to develop our use of very early on and something that we can really use to its full potential. Well, through my personal involvement with the museum, I think that what I'd like to see most would be the development of a place where youth can come together and, talk, just network, share our ideas, and a place where there can be kind of a structured format for discussing certain topics and, networking with adults that have in-depth knowledge of these topics, and just using that to lead to a more intelligent, a more knowledgeable discussion. I think there's absolutely a demand for a place like this among youth my age. I think something like this is a role that's totally unfulfilled right now on the peninsula, and it's something that we want, and it's something that there's nothing that satisfies right now. And I think that if the Museum of Monterey were to step up and fill that, I think that could be incredibly successful. So I'm a junior at Carmel High School. I'm 16 years old. I'm looking to study electrical engineering and computer science when I move into college. I'm not some big environmental nut, I don't want to spend the rest of my life on environmental science, but I just see the environment as a big problem right now that needs to be addressed and that nothing's being done about. And I think that it's an area where I can affect change, so it's something that I want to pour a lot of my energy into right now.